Welcome everyone, I'm Backlash, and welcome to my new show for examining the current events of wrestling. Today I'd like to talk to you about a topic very close to my heart, the internet. The internet has become a common thing in our lives, and these days any idiot with a camera can make it his own personal soapbox. And it was inevitable that professional wrestling would eventually find its way into the online world. Now, in the right hands you can get something entertaining and watchable. However, in the wrong hands... Yeah. Now most wrestlers these days have an internet presence in one way or the other. If I had to ballpark it, I'd say about 70% of them at least use Twitter. However, there's one person who never should have found his way onto the internet, and that is the Ultimate Warrior.
Load the spaceship with the rocket fuel. Load it with the word.
The Ultimate Warrior has been steadily becoming crazier and crazier since his career officially died in 1998. After puttering around, giving weird neoconservative speeches at colleges and such, with rather hilarious results.
Don't have an orgasm on me, honey.
He finally found his way into the internet earlier this year. And what has he been doing with this open soapbox of a Twitter account? Why, more insane ramblings, of course. The majority of them bashing Hulk Hogan. Look, I'm not going to pretend Hulk Hogan is a saint. The man helped sink one major wrestling company, and he's currently in the process of sinking another, all for the sake of his own ego. But Warrior's ramblings just seem so pointless to me. I mean, it's just two old guys arguing with each other over who was a bigger dick back in the day. And really, isn't devoting your entire online presence to something you hate kind of sad and pathetic? Aside from his Twitter, Warrior also laid claim to a YouTube account that had barely been used until recently when he posted a video last month promising to tear down Hulkamania. Well, I'll go into this with an open mind. As long as Warrior can keep his thoughts clear and straight to the point, I can get behind this.
Oh, I wanted to let someone out there know that I found something. Hey, Terry, I found that bullet, man. You know that bullet you were talking about on that sit-down interview when you said Ultimate Warrior was given a bullet to kill Hulkamania? I found it. I found it buried, real deep, inside that huge piece of real estate I still own inside your psyche.
And you've already lost me. Wow, I thought I'd at least make it until the video. Bravo, Warrior! But now we're going to get into the heart of the matter, because earlier this month, Warrior posted that video he promised, and it turned out to be over an hour long! I don't think I'm gonna make it.
I mean, somebody had showed me a crystal ball and they pointed to it and said, you know, Warrior, 20 years from now, you're going to be the only adult in the room. I probably would have rejected the idea.
Warrior, you're the one on the internet bitching about Hulk Hogan being arrogant. Who's really immature here?
You know, until last week, it never crossed my mind that I wanted to spend the time or make the effort to say what I'm going to say here today. I have been delightfully, that's a great word to use, I've been delightfully caught up in the beauty and wonder of my own life. And I built that life up without having to depend on paying attention to wrestling, without having to involve myself in wrestling, without paying attention to what's going on in the lives of the talent, and especially what's going on in the messed up life of Terry Bollea. I mean, I really just didn't care. I didn't give a rat's ass.
That's not a good way to kick off saying you have something intelligent to say by saying you have neither followed nor cared about wrestling in the past few months. Way to destroy your credibility right off the bat.
I do own a piece of your psyche.
Why does he keep saying that? What does it mean?
I remember talking to Bischoff in 1998 when I was going to come in, and he's all excited one day, jumping up and down on the phone like a kid with ants in his pants.
I'm sorry, but just picturing that makes me laugh.
I think when I said I was going to do this video that people thought Warrior's got some dirty laundry on Terry Bollea. And I do. I have different dirty laundry than everybody else. A lot of it I don't want to mention because it's going to be great material in my book, and I don't want to mention a lot of details of the things I'm going to mention here now.
You're going to spend most of this video saying that Hulk Hogan is a greedy son of a bitch, and you're plugging your book. Hypocrisy much?
Dirty laundry like that. Terry, you truly are a dopehead. I mean, you have been into getting high and doing dope for years. A day without smoking pot, brother, is like a day without sunshine.
Ooh, Hogan smoked pot. This must be 1998 because that's the only time this was ever news.
Like that you and Linda had an open marriage. Neither one of you had a problem with the other one getting thrills on the side. In fact, Terry, you tried to get me to sample those thrills. I bet I'm the only guy that ever said no to doing your wife.
Really? This is the dirty laundry you have on Hulk Hogan? Look, I haven't read Linda Hogan's book, but even still, this stuff has kind of been common knowledge for years. What else you got, man?
I mean, I can only imagine how many extra millions it cost you in your divorce settlement when you walked into the divorce proceedings looking the fool that you did. I mean, was it worth it to feed your ego, the gimmick's ego? To continue to dress like a clown and not have any decorum whatsoever for professional settings? To walk in and just start doing the gimmick?
In what world does the Warrior actually think that Hulk Hogan was in character at his divorce hearings? I mean, did he actually walk into the courtroom and call his lawyer brother? Can anyone be that stupid?
I joke with people. I used to joke with people this way. I said, you know, if you lift that flap of extension on the back of Terry's neck, you would find the Wizard of Oz.
Proceed.
Hulkamania. Terry is entwined throughout society, but not in the positive, cherished way that you think it is. You are one of the leading contributors, Terry, with your Hulkamania to the screwed up state of our culture.
Please show your work, Mr. Warrior. How exactly is Hulk Hogan destroying our way of life? Because of that shit you were just bringing up? Newsflash, nobody wants to be Hulk Hogan anymore. Because these days, Hulk Hogan is in his 60s and is busting his ass just to dig himself out of the hole.
Let's get real, man. You didn't reconnect with Randy. You only said that to make yourself look good. You made that story up, you made that lie up so you can make yourself look good and get the media's attention that you reconnected with Randy. I mean, by your own account, man. You just recently reconnected with a friend you hadn't spoken to in 10 years. 10 years there was silence between you and Randy. And you go on that sit-down interview show and you throw Randy under the bus in the hateful, vile way that you did? What's wrong with you, man?
Oh, that goddamn interview. You know what? For those of you who haven't seen it, here's what Warrior is talking about.
Outside the ring, though, we hear different stories about your relationship with Savage. Care to go there? I mean, there's rumours that have flown over the years, stories of Savage blaming you for his divorce to Miss Elizabeth, and, you know, can you clarify any of that, your relationship with Randy?
He blamed me for everything. Yeah. If it was a cloudy day, it was my fault. Randy was real paranoid. I mean, when he'd walk through the dressing room, he'd make Elizabeth look down. Oh, don't look at anybody, don't look at her, I'll kill you. You know, he always was in character, and he just was so paranoid of his wife. And I remember when he first moved down the beach from us, they bought a little house on Kensington. And, you know, it's a beautiful house with a big front door. And all of a sudden, he built a cage around the front door with another locked door. Wow. I'm leaving for 6 days. You got 6 TV dinners. Don't leave the house. Ooh, yeah.
Now, in hindsight, that wasn't the greatest thing Hogan could have said about Savage, especially not right before he died. But let's think about this for a second. What does this have to do with the Warrior? I mean, Savage was never exactly secretive that he was jealous of other men looking at Elizabeth. And as for Hogan being responsible for his marriage ending, I can't really comment on that. And honestly, I don't think Warrior can either. I mean, what did he have to do with anything? Was he somehow involved in Randy's marriage? Is he existing in this Hogan, Savage, Elizabeth love triangle that he's constructing in his head? I don't really understand. Personally, I think he's talking out of his ass. It's entirely possible that Randy would completely agree with everything Hogan said. But again, I don't know. I didn't know any of these men personally. In fact, this whole thing comes off as an opportunity for Warrior to jump down Hogan's throat about comments he made about Randy after he's unable to defend himself. When you really think about it, this part of the video becomes incredibly difficult to watch. It's the Warrior taking advantage of Randy Savage's death. Randy can't answer for these accusations. He can't confirm or deny what Warrior's saying. He's just become a pawn in the Warrior's own rage video. It's sick, and it creeps me the fuck out!
You know what happened? Randy was at the hospital, probably doing charity work. She did a lot of charity work. Heard that you were there. Instead of being a coward and running the opposite direction like you would have done, he stepped in the room and he said hello like a man.
You are so full of shit! Are you even trying to hide the fact that you're just making shit up at this point?
And you sit on that show and you laugh and giggle and you make jokes about him and Elizabeth's marriage falling apart. But you make fun of the whole thing. I was there, Terry, I know. You and Linda contributed to the fallout of their marriage. Randy was on the road, touring around with me night after night. You were shooting some movie in Florida or something like that, and you and Linda got in Elizabeth's ear that she needed to get out more, go do things on her own. You kept pressuring her, and it finally happened. And that was the beginning of the end.
You just said you were on the road! So how can you know any of this? This whole thing comes off as so manipulative. I love Randy Savage, and the wrestling world is a lot darker without him. But he was no saint backstage. We have to admit that fact to ourselves. Warrior is just trying to make him look like a saint so that he can make Hogan look bad.
You ended up sleeping with one of your daughter's friends. Your wife, I guess, you know, that was one of those thrills on the side that Linda just couldn't handle. And you end up marrying a girl who either looks like Linda when she was young or looks like Brooke now. What about Nick? I mean, Nick's not even floundering, man. That cat is totally lost. Totally lost. I mean, he is drifted all the way over the edge.
I have never heard so much babbling incoherent nonsense in my life. Never in my life have I heard a man say so many words that meant so little.
3 or 4 months ago, you made some comments talking about the lawsuit I had against Vince for my DVD. You said that I'd reached out to you to see if you would help me in that because we deposed you in that. That was a lie, Terry. I didn't reach out to you. I tracked down where you were and how I could find you through Linda.
So you didn't reach out to him, but you went looking for him?
You know, your bullet reference in that sit-down interview is really interesting. First, and especially so, because you weren't very good at making effective a use of one either, were you, Terry? I mean, let's get real, man. You made that story up in your book that you were sitting on the bed with a gun in your mouth. I mean, just to play the victim, just to get sympathy, just to keep up the work.
Stop making shit up! You are clearly talking out of your ass about shit you couldn't possibly know anything about. And worst of all, you're making me stick up for Hulk Hogan. I don't like Hulk Hogan, but right now, he has more credibility than you. That's really sad when you think about it.
And it's the same thing that you were trying to get across to that Edge character, right? Basically, when you bashed him for retiring while he still had all his senses, you said that he wasn't worthy enough of being called one of the boys. I mean, that's what you were trying to say, right? That's what was between the lines of your little Twitter tweet. That he wasn't like the real boys. That he wasn't willing to stay in the business until he was mentally and physically battered like you, just a wreck and a whore in every single way.
Your point? That was half a thought! Please finish!
The saddest part about it all, Terry, is that nobody wanted you to end up with the screwed up life that you now have. I don't remember anybody ever saying that that's what they thought in their mind or heart for you, that you would end up with a screwed up life. I never thought that. Everybody was okay with you being the leader. Everybody was okay that you got the biggest piece of the success pie, that you got the greatest experiences of anybody else. You were the white tiger. But what we all expected was that down the road, that you would be a better grown-up, a better mature man.
I don't see how this video can get any stupider. Warrior's been babbling incoherently for about an hour ago, and he's touched on every aspect of Hogan's life. What's left?
You know, when I think about how your mind operates, Terry, I have a picture of melted cheese. And not just any kind of melted cheese. The melted cheese, that one slice of melted cheese from the Wimpy Kids book. Do you know those storybooks, Terry? The Wimpy Kids books? Are those books above your reading level, Terry? They might be.
I'm out of pills.
So this is what I'm going to do right here, right now. I'm going to take that bullet I found, Terry, and I'm going to clean the dust and the grime and the rust off of it. I'm going to polish it up. And I'm putting a call out right now to all the Ultimate Warrior fans all over the world, all the other warriors otherwise, to get behind a movement that is positive and inspiring. Men and women who desire to be the best of the potential they have, not the worst.
So that was the Warrior, I think. I've kind of lost the ability to process thought at this point. All in all, I don't disagree that Hulk Hogan is full of shit and just needs to retire. But when you have to get your point across by bringing up ancient shit everybody already knows, taking advantage of the deaths of your close friends, and just pulling crap out of your ass, you fail. Well, at least Warrior hasn't done anything else that'll melt my brain.
Hey Warriors, guess who? I got a lot of emails from people telling me about the video that Terry posted up at his Facebook page. People are saying seems like he's extending an olive branch, and he's wanting to bury the hatchet, put things behind us, or whatever like that, whatever you would call it. Some of you are wondering if it's going to make me forego posting the videos I promised you would be put up today, and I wanted to definitely let you know that it would not.